Want to watch football without the restrictions of blackouts or cable? Check out expressvpn.com to help you get access to all the live games. Sign up today using the link in the description to get 3 free months. Yo, what up, Bolt fam? It's the director. Chargers fans. That was a train wreck last night. I'm not going to lie, a very tough game to watch for Chargers fans. First off, GG's to the Raiders. They played lights out. They beat us that game. They beat us into the ground, and it was tough to watch. But honestly, the first thing that also popped into my head when the clock struck 0 was this might really actually bump us out of the playoffs, which is a huge bummer. We're not completely dead yet, but our chances just went way down. But I also had another thought at the end of this game. I felt like this also makes the Sean Payton signing that much more likely. So I woke up this morning, I decided to pivot and do something a little different because I feel like it's time. It's time to talk about Sean Payton to the Los Angeles Chargers because our situation has drastically changed because of the game yesterday. And oh boy, this video might get crazy. Might be one of the more controversial videos I post this season. But you know what? As of this morning, my mind has been made up. Here is what I think about Coach Payton to LA. Now, before we dive deep into this topic, I first have to express my deepest gratitude to you, the Bolt fam, because despite the loss, okay, we pulled off something amazing yesterday. Because of you guys, there are many kids that will wake up with Christmas presents under their tree this holiday season, and we raised a staggering $1,235 for Toys for Tots last night, and I could not be more proud, honored, and grateful to you, the Bolt fam, for stepping up. Despite the waning circumstances, truly everybody, thank you for showing up and making a difference. Thank you so much, Bolt fam. A huge success. And speaking of which, guys, I do want to pay it forward a little bit too with Underdog and my own giveaways. We have 3 giveaways going on right now to announce before we get into the video. First off, the Underdog holiday giveaway. We're giving away this Keenan Allen jersey. All you got to do is interact with the tweet. Link is in the description. Super exciting one there. We're also giving away this Justin Herbert jersey to one of my subscribers. All you got to do is hit up the link in the description. Follow the instructions there. Very simple. And make sure you're subbed. Only subs can win. And then finally, we're giving away this Khalil Mack jersey to one of my crew members as a thank you from me to you guys. All you got to do to enter for that is be a member of my crew, and that is it. So you guys ready for this crazy video? Let's jump right into it, man. Before we do, hit us up with a like and sub if you do enjoy this Chargers content. Small amount of time you guys take to hit the like, sub, and bell notification helps me out a lot. Let's get into this. Lights, camera, action. Sean Payton to the Los Angeles Chargers. It is time. It is time to at least talk about this. Now, before we dive crazy into it, I did want to also express my gratitude for yesterday's slate on Underdog Fantasy. If you guys haven't checked it out, we won $620 with yesterday's game. If you guys want to get in on the action, use code DIRECTOR to match your first deposit up to $100. So there's some good news there. Now the not so good news. We're going to cover a little bit of what happened in this game to kind of lead up to the Sean Payton topic, because we first have to understand where we're at. And last night's game is a very good example of the situation the Chargers are currently in. So first off, we have to go out and go at bat for our dude Justin Herbert, aka Hero Herb. Because despite the awful situation offensively, coaching-wise, Herbert continued to prove his status as a top 5 quarterback in the league, throwing for over 300 yards again at Allegiant Stadium and a touchdown. He did absolutely everything possible while taking a huge beating from an offensive line that was letting him down. If anything, Herbert once again proved that he's not the issue with this team at all. He's one of the blessings that we have on this team that we have to continue building and committing around. That lack of protection, separation, smothered any hope of momentum for number 10, okay? So let's get that out of the way first. Justin Herbert, absolutely not the issue. Now, what the issue is the coaching. So this next segment called Cancel the Joe Show. And this is where the changing of the guard in terms of coaching first makes its appearance on this video. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. At this point, I am officially out on Joe Lombardi. Last night, it was definitely the last nail in the coffin for me. The lack of traction, even despite the injuries, falls on the lack of preparation, in my opinion, by Joe Lombardi. The pocket was collapsing all night long. It felt like there was absolutely no adjustments made to help protect Justin Herbert, your franchise quarterback. That to me is just unacceptable. There was even a point where I cringed in the game every time Herbert was asked to execute a play action. You know, one of those delayed plays, dropping back with no protection, a delayed window to throw. Boom, there's Max Crosby. It just felt like we continued throwing him into the fire unnecessarily without any protection. I also felt like the run game was proving pretty effective throughout the game. I think the Raiders, the 6th worst versus the run. Joshua Kelly's back. He was doing great. Why not feature more on the ground to get the pass rush off our back and Justin Herbert? It just felt like a stubborn, insane, no adjustment kind of mindset, trying the same thing over and over, expecting different results. And Herbert looked like he took a tumble down the world's tallest hill by the end of the game. That dude was beat up, and there's no reason for that. The situation was just too dire. And it was evident early in the game that this was going to be the trend. Lack of protection. You got to change something up. But we kept patting Herbert on the back and sending him back into the mess. Herbert deserves better. And quite frankly, so do the fans at this point. Time's up. I feel like it's time to cancel the Joe Show. So if there's anything solid and in stone in this video as far as my declaration, I think it's time to move on from Joe Lombardi. This next segment, because we want to get to the Sean Payton stuff as soon as possible. Has Staley checked out? Now, speaking of coaching, what a disaster of a night it was for Coach Staley, okay? There were times that the defense certainly stepped up in which, Coach Staley is overseeing, but I feel like that was as an individual effort from the players. Bryce Callahan with the pick 6, the first scoring touchdown on defense for the Chargers in quite some time. That was exciting. But the play calling, oof, it was pretty bad, dudes. It was pretty bad on Sunday night. The defense allowed 144 yards on the ground to Josh Jacobs, which, we'll be honest, that was kind of expected. But 177 yards to Davante Adams as well? Holy cow, what a disaster. Yes, we expected the run defense to be putrid. That's something I think that all of us were like, hey, we're going to have to figure something out despite that. But to have that kind of performance by Derek Carr and Davante Adams through the air at the same time, at some point, you're going to have to double Davante Adams, right? I guess not. The lack of pressure, though, is also super shocking to me. 0 sacks on Derek Carr, 0. And that, to me, is one of the biggest emphases that you have to bring to the table when facing the Raiders. I understand we don't have Bosa, but I felt that we would supplement Derwin James in a lot more than we did. Because in my eyes, again, all I saw was an overconfident, comfortable Derek Carr all night. And we've been screaming at the TV this entire time, right? The primary focus needs to be pressure, and it never happened. Against a well below average offensive line of the Vegas Raiders. I even saw on Facebook last night several Chargers fans who were at the game, by the way, expressed that Staley kind of seemed lost on the sidelines, interacting with almost nobody all night, staying kind of in his world, pacing back and forth. I don't know, man. As much as I love his philosophies, his leadership, and his analytical mind, I just feel like he seems to lose that it factor when it counts on Sundays. And that's what we need him most, right? That's when we need him most. I love Staley the person. I feel like we would get along very well, but we need a general on the front lines, not a strategist. We need somebody in there that's willing to take what we've established and put it to use and actually execute. Because what good is a plan if we freeze when it's time to execute? And it's really kind of starting to show as one of those bigger weaknesses of Brandon Staley at this point. So yeah, with this loss, I think I'm ready to plant some flags. Our playoff hopes this season have dwindled, okay? It's not dead. I would give the Chargers still like between 10 and 20% chance of making the postseason. And the only reason I'm still rooting for Brandon Staley at this point is that somehow he beats the odds and takes us to the postseason. But right now, analytically, we are at a huge disadvantage to make that happen. And if we don't make it into the postseason this year, and this is kind of a declaration we were making early on in the offseason, I think, give me Sean Payton. I understand the scrutiny behind this declaration, but I don't care at this point. I think I've seen a lot of Chargers football over the last 10, 15, I think getting closer to 20 years at this point, and I feel like it is time to break the trend. So this next segment and the focus of the entire rest of the video is called All In on Sean Payton. We've lived this story too many times as Chargers fans, have we not? Hire a coordinator, see some potential, get excited, eventually sink, rinse and repeat. Normally, sure, okay, I would be patient I would give Staley another season or two to sort things out because this season was kind of a dumpster fire. The injuries, which were historical, by the way, in terms of the Chargers, definitely derailed the entire year. I want to see, what he can do with a hopefully full roster next season. And normally that's the mindset I would go into. But honestly, an opportunity like what the Chargers have in front of them right now does not come by often, if ever, for most franchises. And for those of you who are unaware, Sean Payton has been heavily linked to the Chargers as a new head coach. He's been wanting to be the head coach. He's been pretty much spewing it from the mountaintops. He is chasing that head coaching job so that he can be linked with Justin Herbert. Sean Payton is the guy that can break this vicious cycle for the Chargers. The vicious cycle of hire coordinator, see some potential, eventually sink, rinse, and repeat. Sean Payton can be the guy to break those chains. Finally, a proven, likely Hall of Fame head coach actually wants to lead our team. He is circling this team week in and week out, studying them, declaring that he wants to come coach the Los Angeles Chargers. That's super rare. And honestly, it's something the Chargers haven't done in a very long time in hiring a veteran head coach. The last time we hired a seasoned head coach, his name was Marty Schottenheimer. Before the Chargers, Marty Schottenheimer coached the Kansas City Chiefs for 10 seasons. 7 of those seasons, he posted double-digit wins for the Chiefs. Kind of a similar situation we'd be looking at if Sean Payton came to the Chargers. Before that, Marty even led the Cleveland Browns to a largely successful 5-year stretch in Cleveland. Super impressive, especially for the Browns, even in the 80s. And if I'm being honest, again, when it comes to Marty Schottenheimer and a potential ad of a Sean Payton, I'm seeing extremely similar scenario for the Chargers right now. Sean Payton led the Saints for 15 years, leading them to 10 winning seasons, 9 playoff wins, and 7 division titles, as well as, a Super Bowl championship in that time. And what's crazy is that Sean Payton has more playoff wins in his 15-year career with 9 than even Marty Schottenheimer did with his 21-year career, who had 5. The Chargers just haven't had leadership like this in their organization for 16 years, and I think I'm done waiting as a fan. It's time to make a change. So how in the world could we pass this up? These opportunities don't come by very often. Is Bill Belichick going to retire and want to coach us next season? I don't think so. When was the last time a seasoned head coach fought to coach us? Very long time. And the timing is unbelievable if you're the Chargers right now. Payton would inherit arguably a Super Bowl caliber roster, the same one that we saw the potential for at the top of the season before the injuries derailed it. Justin Herbert, Derwin James, Joey Bosa, Khalil Mack, Keenan Allen, Austin Eckler, Mike Williams, Asante Samuel, even J.C. Jackson. That's a heck of a football team. And I just don't feel comfortable letting an opportunity like this pass us up. Because at this point, I know the Chargers' odds to really capitalize on this particular roster lies with Coach Payton. And this roster is pretty locked in for a few years. Khalil Mack, contract expires 2025. Bosa, 2026. JC, 2027. Keenan Allen, 2025. Derwin James, 2027. Corey Linsley, 2026. Mike Williams, 2025. This roster is set in stone for at least a few years here. We have got to make this roster work while we have it. We are officially committed to this team for at least a few seasons. But ultimately, one of my biggest statements of this video that I want to make in declaration of being in support of Sean Payton coming to the Chargers is because Justin Herbert deserves Sean Payton. We got lucky. We got very lucky landing one of the best quarterbacks of this generation in Justin Herbert. And right now, I hate to say it, Bull fam, we are kind of wasting his talent. Justin Herbert, despite the circumstances, like we said at the top of the video, he went out there and threw for over 300 yards again. He went out there and scored again, kept drives and the game alive again. We have to put him in an environment where those translate to wins. Now, I'll be damned if I let the same thing happen to Justin Herbert that happened to Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers, one of my favorite Chargers of all time. I felt like that potential never reached its peak because of the coaching at times. I feel like Marty Schottenheimer gave him a shot, and then after that, it kind of all went away. And Herbert is likely the whole reason that Payton wants to take over the Bolts. And you know what? Bet your butt he's got a plan to fully utilize his talents going forward. Because some are worried that if we hire Coach Payton, we'll keep Joe Lombardi and stick with his predictable, bland, and uninspiring offense. Okay, I'm here to tell you that's not going to happen. That's definitely not going to happen. Sure, Payton keeps Lombardi in at OC. That could happen. They go way back. I think he was Payton's quarterback's coach back in New Orleans. But Sean Payton wouldn't trust him to call plays. He would puppet Lombardi. Because Payton, I would say much like Brandon Staley with the Chargers right now on defense, he calls his own plays on offense. Sean Payton is the OC of his team. He's the one calling the shots. So sure, Lombardi may stay, but he wouldn't be the man with a plan when it comes to offense. It would be Sean Payton. And I highly doubt that Payton would want to stick with Lombardi's system anyway. He's got 2 years of uninspiring tape on the scheme. It just doesn't fit Herbert's play style at all. Payton had to do things in New Orleans to make Drew Brees work, right? And I don't think he's fighting to coach for Herbert because he wants to keep him as a dinking and dunking quarterback, a short passing quarterback. What he did to help Drew Brees in his time in New Orleans is not going to be the same thing he does for Justin Herbert in Los Angeles, if that makes sense. Because Payton is smart. He's super smart. An offensive super genius, mind you. There's no way that he would stand for keeping what's not working in Los Angeles in Joe Lombardi's scheme in any sort of his control in an environment where he is the head coach. I don't think he would stand for that. Instead, I would expect a masterfully crafted system that perfectly complements Herbert's strengths and weaknesses, just like Payton created for Drew Brees. He knew Drew Brees would thrive in a short passing scheme, and he made it happen for Brees. And you know what? I think Brees, who will likely be inducted to the Hall of Fame, by the way, has a lot to thank to that system and Sean Payton in particular. Because when Payton gets his hands, I do believe, on Justin Herbert, I would expect the same kind of treatment, right? A vicious, vertical system that forces defenses to back off, because that is what fits Justin Herbert, not this short passing system that worked for Drew Brees. And if I'm being honest, it might look a lot like something that the Chiefs are running right now. Justin Herbert is at the center of this entire thing. And I truly believe that if there's anybody out there that can elevate his already insane abilities at quarterback, it's going to be Coach Payton. So yes, I'm firmly on the Coach Payton bandwagon right now. I think I'm done. It's enough. We've seen 16 years of the Chargers recycling offensive coordinators, assistant head coaches, rinse and repeat. We're back where we started a couple of years ago. And now we have the opportunity to add a head coach that wants to be here, that has the history, the pedigree, the experience, a Super Bowl championship, to make a real change in Los Angeles for the Chargers. I love a lot of things that Coach Staley did, but when it came time to execute, it all fell apart. Sean Payton's the kind of man that you can absolutely count on to give you the best execution possible. Now, there is another argument I'm hearing from Chargers fans when it comes to Sean Payton. It's a very valid argument, okay? This segment called At What Cost? This isn't going to come cheap, okay? As you guys know, Coach Payton is under contract for a few more seasons with New Orleans. And to acquire him, we're going to have to compensate New Orleans. But you know what? At this point, I say bring it on. I understand some fans will hate this, but really, please, hear me out. The Chargers are likely going to need to send over at least a first-round pick and change to New Orleans. And I know, that's a high price to pay. But you know what? I'm not convinced that there's any rookie that exists this upcoming class that could make a bigger impact than a proper, seasoned, veteran, proven, Super Bowl winning head coach. Because if I'm being honest, this roster already looks pretty stacked to me. Hurt, yes, but stacked. And it's not like we won't have picks to work with as well. We're still going to have second, third, fourth round picks, especially in the future when Payton gets those first round picks back. I'm willing to rock with this roster behind Sean Payton for a season. We saw a massive potential in the squad at the top of the season, right? A lot of us were thinking Super Bowl potential because of how great this team looked on paper. And yes, on paper, it is one of the best. But that's just it. Only on paper. The strategy was solid, I do have to admit. But when it comes time to execute with that strategy and that system and that team that we put in place in the offseason, it just fell apart. Yeah, the injuries ripped away any hopes for, Staley to have that dream all-in season, which that definitely blows. I feel for the guy. But if he did anything right for the Chargers, it was putting together this team. And I really hate to say it because it does sound harsh, but I feel like it's time to hand this squad to a coach who knows how to use it. I know, it seems kind of harsh, but it is true. So yeah, if it costs us a first-round pick and change, it doesn't shake my opinion one bit. Because I am tired of the narrative. The narrative of the Chargers are a great team on paper but fall apart every season. Nope, I'm done with that. I believe leadership has been our number one problem contributing to that. And I'm done. If we're going all in, let's go all in. Get us a head coach. A future Hall of Fame head coach. A seasoned future Hall of Fame head coach that has won a Super Bowl, that is practically pleading to join this team. As for the contract, I completely get it too. This is the other argument that I'm hearing. Sean Payton wants a lot of money, like $30 million or something like that. And of course, I think most of us would say, no way that Dean Spanos would ever pay that kind of money for a head coach. And this is but honestly, dudes, I think this is our ownership's chance to kind of grow a pair. Because it takes money to make money. One of the basic foundations of business. You know what the Chargers' net worth is as of this year? $3.8 billion. $30+ million over so many years is nothing compared to that to bring in a seasoned veteran head coach. And in the end, again, you got to spend money to make money. And you know what? Your competition in LA, you know what they're doing? The Rams are worth a staggering $6.2 billion in the Los Angeles market. You know why? It's their leadership, their roster, their ownership, their Super Bowl status, their recent Super Bowl status. The Chargers absolutely have the potential to reach new heights with a string of wins in LA, because LA really only cares about winners in their oversaturated market of teams, of all sports. And to become a winner, you just cannot be a coward in this market. Again, I'm using big words for the director. I normally don't go all out like this, but this is how strongly I feel about it. You cannot skeet by with a minimum head coach contract, which Coach Staley is being paid, by the way, $1 million a year. You've got to step up. My faith in Spanos, it doesn't inspire much hope of them doing this, but I'm going to say it nonetheless. Don't be a coward, John. If you want the LA market, you're going to have to take it. And with the roster that this team has assembled, the generational talent we've got at quarterback that they've secured, as well as a growing fan base of Chargers fans, now is the time to drop a proper head coach into the mix. Because at the end of the day, Bull fam, Sean Payton paired with Justin Herbert. Think about that. Sean Payton and Justin Herbert is one of the most obvious pairings in the modern day NFL era that screams Super Bowl champions. We have got to make it happen. If we want real change to happen, we're going to have to make some drastic change ourselves. This Chargers trend that we've seen for so many years, I do believe it starts with leadership. The likeliness of the ownership changing, I think, are really small. The likeliness of changing a head coach and bringing in a guy like Sean Payton, I think, are relatively moderate. I do believe that there is a solid chance that Sean Payton could come to LA, and these are the reasons why I feel so strongly about it. I'm done. 16 years of the same. It's time to break out of that trend. I am by no means done being a Chargers fan. You can bet your butt on that. I'm too well invested in the players. But at the same time, I want to see this team reach those heights. And I don't feel that potential has been met since Coach, Schottenheimer was at the helm so many years ago. We're seeing a very similar situation unfold. A story in which a guy like Sean Payton, with that kind of experience, pedigree, winning record, history of Super Bowl championships, this is what you want to see on a winning team. The roster's ready. We've got Justin Herbert. It's time to execute. As for Brandon Staley and Coach Lombardi, I really do wish him the best. Who knows? Who knows what could happen? But at the end of the day, I think what's best for this team and ultimately for Justin Herbert, we've got to get this man in the building. So there you go. There's my flag. Officially planted. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. There's going to be a lot of people that very much so disagree with me. That is fine. Okay? This is a very sketchy topic to begin with. A lot of people are still with the Brandon Staley, side of things. I feel like mainly because of Justin Herbert, time is running out. I'm not willing to waste even one more year of his career. And if even there's a 10, 15% chance that Sean Payton offers him better, odds at fully utilizing Justin Herbert and taking him, as far as he can take him, possibly to a Super Bowl championship ring, that's the route I want to go. So you guys let me know in the comment section below what you think. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. This has been The Director. Again, guys, huge shout out to the Bolt fam for the incredible accomplishment that we created together this last weekend. $1,235 raised for Toys for Tots. Absolutely insane. Thank you to everybody so much for making that happen. And I hope everybody has a fantastic week despite this. Keep your heads up. Keep your chin up. Be mad today, bolt up tomorrow. Let's have some fun with the rest of the season and just hope they can make the postseason. But these are kind of the things we're laying out for the future and just kind of trying to provide a bit of perspective on the coaching situation that may require changing in the near future. Well, guys, thank you so much for joining me. We'll catch you next time. If you liked what you saw here, hit us up with a like and sub on your way out. This has been The Director, and as always, bolt up and stay frosty. Coach Payton, the Los Angeles Chargers, screams Super Bowl championship with Justin Herbert.